Welcome to the Collecting the Past podcast. Funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities and in partnership with the Flannery O'Connor Institute for the Humanities, this project paired students from Georgia College with community members to collect oral histories from individuals who either lived in Milledgeville during the heart of O'Connor's writing career or whose lives were shaped by events that took place during this period. Our goals with the project are to expand the existing historical narrative of our town by documenting unwritten life stories and creating a public digital archive. As you'll hear, the students had fun creating their own podcasts in the style of their choice. Like our narrators, each episode has its own personality.
I got my PhD in early American history in 1980 from the University of Massachusetts. And as far as my teaching career, I got my first tenure track job in a college called Georgia College. Well, yeah, of course, Georgia. I'm talking to people that aren't going now. I'm sorry, Drake. So I started at Georgia College in 1987 and retired in 2015. So 28 years. Wow. And then I continued on for a few more years up until 2021, finishing up the history of Georgia College. So if you ever see the history of the college, that's me. And it's about a 500-page history of Georgia College. So they have it in the library and other places. So that's. I didn't know that you wanted to know anything else, but that's my academic career.
That's perfectly fine. That's a lot. I think I even remember my teacher, Dr. Opperman, told the class that you. I don't know if you were a part of the local history class as well, like instructing for it.
Yeah, I started it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, I didn't want to like put words in her mouth. I couldn't remember if that's what she said. Okay,
yeah. No, I started it, and I'm trying to remember when, early 90s or about then, and then taught it till I retired. And I will tell you, it was my favorite class because the students, as you were doing, can use primary sources and to do the research and do the project. So I just assigned a local history topic and kind of randomly to students and sent them out to the courthouse, the library, and oral history interviews, whatever it took to do the course. And I will tell you, Drake, sometimes I didn't vet these topics. They're things I wanted to know about. So sometimes they came up empty, and it wasn't the students' fault. It just was that there wasn't a lot of information, and they got so upset. And I understand that, but I said it's right. Now we know what we can know and what we can't know, and but most of the time they were successful and did amazing research. And I have a lot of their papers on file at the library. The papers they did for the course, I put into a special collection on local history.
Wow.
So,
yeah,
that was. Go ahead.
I have to say, I've told Dr. Opperman this multiple times, but the class has been very interesting. It stood out to me compared to all the other history classes I've taken, because this is my second semester here, but this is my sixth semester in college. And I would say I have very much enjoyed the class just because it's so different from just listening to a teacher like go through a PowerPoint or just lecture. I really enjoyed going to these historical sites, seeing what items that are hundreds of years old. Well, okay, in this case it'd be maybe a little more than half a century, but still It doesn't matter. Still so long ago, and it gets us out of the classroom, and it makes us interact more, along with also the community. Like we went to the library. I forgot the name of it, unfortunately, but we met someone named Charlie Brown who'd been there for so long and told us a lot of interesting.
Oh, did you? The Benson Library, it's called.
That's it. Thank you. I'm terrible with names.
Is he still? Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. He's the expert on railroads and railroad stations and so on. I don't know that that's what he talked about. I mean, he's in charge of. He did the local history thing, but his particular focus was on railroads in Georgia, and And he's gone all over the state taking pictures of existing railroad stations and terminals.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's a good guy.
But we met him, and he told us about all the history they had there from like the Civil War and whatnot. And so it was interesting to go to the library because I probably wouldn't have gone there if we hadn't done the class. So yeah, I really enjoyed the class. Like, it's kept my attention, and like when we went to Andalusia, I think I said it right. And
Andalusia, yeah.
Andalusia, thank you. I always butcher the name. So yeah, I've really enjoyed the class. But
did you go anywhere? Did you go anywhere else? You went to the library in Andalusia. I'm just curious.
Okay, let me think. Well, we went to special collections a lot, which that's funny. I've been to special collections so many times, and it's like let me think. I did it once last semester for cultural geography, and we were looking at the maps of what was it? Insurance companies with like the fire.
Yes. The Sanborn fire insurance maps.
That's it, yes. I went there for that, and then I've gone a couple times for this class, and then I went for Craft World, American History, I'm taking now. So I've been there a lot, and then, you're asking other locations. What else? We went to... I'm not blanking on it now, am I? Lord. God. Okay, hold on. There was... I don't remember the name of the house, but it's near Centennial Center, and it was I think like a mixed race woman who like taught to students. What is the name? Sally
Ellis Davis.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Yes, as I've said, I'm terrible with names. We've been there, and then where else? I know I'm missing.
You go to the governor's mansion and all of this?
Actually, no. I don't think we did.
Okay.
I was expecting that we would, but we didn't. No.
Yeah, you should do that on your own, Drake. He's just fabulous.
Yeah.
If you haven't been inside, it's amazing.
I passed by it, and I've heard about it. My roommate had to go. I did end up touring it for his tourism class. And he told me some pretty interesting stuff about it. But yeah, I definitely will check it out. And I think that's about it. I think we had we listened to you because you couldn't come in because of the snow. That was a weird second week. Which that was very interesting. I still remember we talking about the guy who went to the spring and took took a drink of the spring water and said, "This is where we'll build the Capitol."
Yes.
And showing us all the old buildings.
Absolutely, John Clark, and that spring is still there. I used to take the students down to see it.
Yeah.
The Jarrett Springs. It's underneath the car barn where they do repairs for vehicles at George College.
Oh, okay.
And you go into the barn, and this guy's always been very nice with me. Roll out all this equipment away from this hole in the concrete floor. It was covered with a metal cover. Slide the metal cover off, and there's 3 little steps, and you walk down and kind of hoist yourself down in, and the spring is still gushing down in there. It's been covered over by the car barn, and my hope is that someday they'll move the car barn and create a little park there with the founding springs of Milledgeville, that everybody can see it.
That would be beautiful. That would be very nice. That sounds beautiful. And
yes.
I can't believe I forgot the other location, the last location we visited. Gosh. CSU, Central State Hospital. That was quite an experience.
Oh, okay. Good. Because that's good. Yeah, that's quite an amazing interpretation and work they're doing. All my years that I did local history, I would take students out to local plantations, and then we walked around town quite a lot. But I didn't do a whole lot with Central State because it's a world into and of itself. Absolutely. And I concentrated more on the old Capitol itself rather than what they used to call the asylum in the 19th century. And so I'm just really delighted that Amy Wright and the museum people had done so much with Central State and then preserving, interpreting it.
Absolutely.
So good. I'm glad you went there. Jessica, what's her name? Whitehead. There's a young woman who's been doing all this marvelous research out there.
Yeah, Yeah.
Okay, well, I was just, and when you see Dr. Opperman, she knows this, but I am so glad that she has revived that course, because I thought when I left, it's the end of it. And she's taken, I mean, even though her field is Latin America, she's taken this on, and I'm just so thrilled. She's just great.
Oh yeah, she's been phenomenal. She's been it's been a class that's been, the work, there is still work, but we're allowed to, we're not so boggled down with work that we aren't able to like actually take in all this history we're learning, and honestly seeing too, that's like I said, the seeing is so different, actually seeing the places in person and whatnot. It's been very enjoyable. Like, CSU was just out of, I mean, like, they told me how big it was. They told us how big it was. Like, it was, like, they had their own police force, firefighters, and all that. But it really felt like, it was like it was Disneyland. Like, it was just this own separate place.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I'm getting us off topic, but, Okay, so, now
so the
Baldwin Hotel. So,
yeah.
I read some of the stuff you have sent me. I like your article. I read about Norvell Hardy. That was very interesting.
Good.
I guess I'll start with my first question, which was, how much influence do you think Milledgeville had on Norvell Hardy during his life? And actually, just start with that one, actually.
Good question. And I'm glad you got the Norville, because that's what he always was called. His father's name was Oliver Hardy, and his mother's maiden name was Norville. So he was Oliver Norville Hardy, but he was always, family always called him Norville. And then when he got famous, he took the name Oliver, kind of dropped the Norville.
Yeah, I saw that in your article. I was reading, and it says Oliver Hardy, like, she marries Oliver Hardy. I'm like, wait, what? I thought he was 11 at this point, but I'm like, yeah, you're right. He must have taken the name. I realized it after I was reading it. So, anyways, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, that's right. About the time that he got a job, this would be 1910, just about 1910, when he was 17. He got a job running the projector at the first real movie theater in Milledgeville, and then he got interested in film, and he kind of said, okay, I'm an adult now, I'm going to start calling myself Oliver. So that's about the time that he uses that. In fact, in the census, the 1910 census, he says Oliver Norville Hardy. Well, the influence is he liked Milledgeville, and it shaped him in so many ways. Both positive and negative. The negative part was that he was always overweight, and as a kid, he was just really overweight. He was a good athlete, surprisingly enough, but not because he was thin. In fact, the opposite. And the kids always, all his friends and other kids would always call him Fatty.
Yeah.
And people in town called him Fatty Hardy. He didn't care for it, but on the other hand, when he thought that he could go into movies, which was a change in direction for him, he wanted to be a singer, and then he realized he was okay singer, but he wasn't going to be outstanding. He said, maybe I can do something in silent films or the films, and he saw some of the characters that were overweight. They usually played either villains or they played comic roles. And he thought, I can do that. And that's basically the direction he went. So the fact that he was overweight was very much a part of his career. And, he was famous for eating a lot. His mother was a very good cook there at the hotel. And and different places in town, he just shoveled it all down. And so that was, and I think, there were some other things that he did around town. We don't need to get all the details, but Milledgeville very much shaped him. And it was also, he's a Southern boy, and people that see Laurel and Hardy movies don't always realize that he was from Georgia, because Stan Laurel, his partner, was from England, and so you see the movies, particularly when they get into the talkies in the 30s. He'll make references to places in Georgia that he knew, like Jessup and other places. He'll talk about the South and even sing a Southern song or two. So his Georgia, even though he moved to by 1917 for sure, a little bit earlier, he was out in Hollywood, but he never forgot Milledgeville. And he one time, when one of the few letters that we have that he wrote back to a friend of his, a girlfriend of his actually, back in the day, when he heard about the Capitol building burning down, what we now call GMC, it essentially burned to the ground. And he was so upset about that, and he wrote in Anything I Can Do and so on. That was 1942. But he wrote back to what was her name? I talk about her in the article. Her father was mayor of the town at one point. No, I'm sorry, I'm conflating it. No, this girl, her father was he had an ice house in Milledgeville. Anyway, Althea, Miller was her maiden name. Was it something like Amelia? Anyway, it's in the article.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Sorry. Don't worry, it's no problem. I am terrible with names as well. There's even worse. I've got like 3 friends who all have like the letter K, their first letter, and their name is K. So I would always get them all mixed up. Something when I first got here. So yeah.
I have the article here, and let's see.
No, it's not her.
She was Althea Miller Horn. That's her name.
Okay, I was looking at it. Okay, all right. It's right in front of me. Yeah, his childhood friend. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And something you should, on Hardy, I think you'd be interested in seeing. There was a show in the 50s and on into the 60s called This Is Your Life. Ralph Edwards' This Is Your Life. And they would choose somebody famous usually and surprise them with, they bring them up on stage, and then all these people from their past would come out, and this is your life, famous people.
Wow.
And the one time they did Laurel and Hardy, it was the one time they did 2 people together, because the show only lasted in these early years for half an hour, so they had to pack a lot in. But they got Laurel and Hardy both. This is in the it would be about 1953 or 4. And so This Is Your Life, Oliver Hardy and Stan Laurel. And Althea Miller Horn came on the show. Because when they focused on each guy, and when they focused on Oliver Hardy, they brought her out, and it was quite touching. And she told 2 things. One is, when she came out, he said, "You're still beautiful."
Wow.
She's in her 60s at that point, but the Horn family. Well, she was good looking. But
anyhow, I found it. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and wow, I never heard of this. Yeah, and I found the exact part you're talking about. This Is Your Life, Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy. And yeah.
All right, great.
Wow.
Great. And then, it's fun just to watch the whole thing, but she also talked about the time when his brother jumped into the Oconee River and died, and how Oliver Hardy, he was about 16 or 17. Brother was older, but he was back visiting Milledgeville, and they were swimming and fishing down on the river, down near where the dam is. And they, not the modern dam, the old dam, right down in down in the Greenway.
Yeah.
We call the Greenway now. But anyway, she talked about how he drove in and pulled him out and gave him. Well, we know he gave him artificial respiration, but he'd broken his neck. The brother he just jumped out into the river from a branch, and he didn't look at the water, and the water wasn't that deep, and he hit his neck and broke it. And he lived a couple days, and then he died in the hotel, actually. And that was 1909, I believe. And it was a real traumatic event, but she talks about that on the show. She mentions it, and you can see how he was still shaken by it all those years later.
Yeah, she's mentioning it. Something, how he still looked heroic while doing it, when he was doing the respiratory. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Not even just that, but just the show itself. That's incredible to think about, honestly, especially for back then, being able to, find somebody, not just a celebrity, but like no internet or anything. You get track down somebody in someone's life that they knew, and then
exactly.
That is incredible.
People from their childhood, or people that helped them to stardom if they were movie stars or whatever.
Wow.
So a lot of like they did. Everybody, sports figures. They did Joe Louis, the great boxer. This Is Your Life, Joe Louis.
Oh,
and,
wow.
If you just scroll through, you'll see all these. Sophia Loren, one of those beautiful women that ever lived. She's on. Wait a minute. No, let me take that back. I'm confusing something else. But she was on another show called What's My Line? But Joe Louis they did This Is Your Life, Joe Louis, and lots of people, and it's the show continued on into the 60s, and then I think I will tell you this, they tried to revive it, and it had some success in the early 80s, bringing This Is Your Life back after it had been gone, and with Ralph Edwards still wasn't behind it, but they had a different host. Anyway, it was now an hour show. And they did one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen. They did This Is Your Life, Rodney Dangerfield. Do you know who I mean?
Yeah. Let me see his face. I'll recognize him. Rodney. Yeah. I recognize the name, Dangerfield.
Yeah, Rodney. I don't get no respect. I don't, that's
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Well, Rodney Dangerfield, after World War II, went into comedy, and he wasn't very successful. He even had a different name or something, just kind of tanked, and there were bad years for him. And then he became a house contractor, like painter, got out of show business. But Johnny Carson remembered him, and he invited him to come on to the Johnny Carson show, and Rodney Dangerfield had already been kind of trying to reinvent himself, and he was a huge, huge hit. So now they bring him on This Is Your Life, Rodney Dangerfield. But what they did was to bring out people from this period of his life, which was so negative, and people that I don't think he ever wanted to see again.
Oh, God.
And, hey, Rodney, remember me? Oh, yeah. I can open it. I mean, it was awkward as hell. And, so This Is Your Life. It's worth watching. And the other thing I would say is, since you can go online so quickly, see a couple of the really good Laurel and Hardy shorts. They're about half an hour, and they are
absolutely. I'll definitely.
They are hilarious, just hilarious.
Yeah, because I have watched some older comedy bits. Like, of course, you got Charlie Chaplin. Because that's incredible. Right. Just because it's comedy that'll always be funny. Just because they had this. It was what do they call it? I know it's no talking, but it's like he created the art where you know what they're thinking, doing because of how good they're
absolutely
moving.
The slapstick and everything that they did, it was an art form, and it was brilliant. And Charlie Chaplin is the greatest, but I think Laurel and Hardy as a team are right up there with him. And people talk about these other groups like the Three Stooges, who I just think are not too funny. But Laurel and Hardy, all their little bits are so, and they improvised, a lot on the set, and they had their characters. And Oliver Hardy, one of his famous phrases was, he'd say to Stan Laurel, "Well, this is another nice mess you've got me into." And I still use that when somebody screws me over, or something. I say, "This is another nice mess you got me into." So yeah, they're some of them are really good, and I think there's one movie that is a full-length movie. They did a couple full-length ones, but one is called The Sons of the Desert, and it's a spoof on lodge culture, and by lodge culture I mean Kiwanis, the Masons, the Lions, all these groups that are kind of dying out now, but they were big for so long in American history. Yeah. And it's a takeoff on belonging to the lodges where you wear, fez hats and that sort of thing. Yeah, and that's the name of the group. They're called the Sons of the Desert. Well, anyway, the movie is just really funny, and they did their best work up until about World War II. Then they went with Universal Studios from Hal Roach Studios, where they'd been given a lot of creative freedom. But Universal was more cookie cutter, and the boys were getting older anyway, but the comedy was just not what it had been. The movies they made in the 40s were just not as good as their previous career. And so anyway, that's check out. Trying to think of the name of this one. I can't think of the title of it. But if you see a full length, it's close to an hour. But any of the shorts are just hilarious. So and they're all online. They're all on YouTube.
I see. There's they have all of them. Probably because it's so old too that they all of them are available. You don't have to do it through a subscription service or anything.
No, absolutely. They're mostly available. And so I'm always pushing. I loved Laurel and Hardy even before I knew that Oliver Hardy grew up in Milledgeville. And of course that made it all the more, important, and where, what he did. And by the way, you may have seen the sign, and I wrote the text for this sign that's right outside the Magnolia Bank, which is where the hotel stood. And it talks about the movie theater. It's called the Palace Theater that Hardy ran the projector for in 1910, 1911. It was right across the street. So the building hasn't survived the structure, whereas so much in downtown Milledgeville has. But that one burned in the 60s, I think. Yeah. But it's where, and when I lived in Milledgeville, there was an antique store there called Red Door Antiques. It's just a concrete-looking building, right across Wayne Street from the hotel. And it stood exactly where the earlier structure was that housed what they grandly called the Palace Theater. I mean, it was just a storefront with seats inside and a screen they pulled down in the front and showed movies beginning in 1909. And so, yeah, you can see that marker. There's a Georgia historical marker right in front of Magnolia Bank. So
I think I might have missed that, but I do know. Okay, yeah, I know where I can imagine where it is you're talking about. But
it's right on the corner of Wayne and Green Street.
Yeah.
But right out in front of the bank.
Okay.
And it says, across the street was where the Palace Hotel, or where the Palace Theater was. There's one misconception about Oliver Hardy is that he also performed and worked at the Colonial. Excuse me, at the what's the name of the Colonial Theater, which later became the Pool Hall. And I don't know, it was standing empty because when the guy that ran the Pool Hall died, it sort of shut down. But I think they're doing some renovation on it. Maybe it's opened up as something else, but it's on Hancock Street, right? I don't know that you can picture it, but it's.
I think I know what you're talking about. But why do you think that misconception started that he also worked there too?
Well, it's a natural one. The guy that took over running the Palace Theater got to know Oliver Hardy, and then he started the Colonial Theater about 1913. It had been it was called, the whole thing was called the Opera House, but the bottom part of it was opened up as a movie theater, the Colonial, and so it was very nice. And he started in 1913, and everybody always thought that Oliver Hardy worked there. But what I found out is that he had left town by 1913 and gone first to New York and Florida and finally out to California. So Oliver Hardy did not work at the Colonial Theater, but they did made a point of showing. In fact, when he became famous, he was in a two-reeler in Hollywood that the owner of the Colonial Theater grandly promoted as our own, and this was up on the marquee. Come see our own, and instead of saying Oliver Hardy, he said, "Come see our own Fatty Hardy."
That's nice.
In a movie called Back to the Farm, and they showed it there. But when you went into the Colonial Theater, and you can still see this as you stand in front, it says, because this was a glass front, you could see the words Colonial in the tile right in the front. And then if you look back a little ways, before you got to the pool tables, there was this big black kind of, I don't know how to describe, almost hexagon-like shape in the floor, like a black shadow in the floor. That's where the ticket booth was. So you went in. There was like a soda fountain and a lobby in front, and then there was the ticket booth, and then you walked in and into the theater part of it itself, and faced front once you got inside. And to this day, there's a hole in the very back wall, a square hole, where the projector was, and that's still there. I went back in there. It was a restroom basically, and really scuzzy. It's where all that. So the guy that owned the Colonial, that owned what became the pool hall, Dodo's Pool Hall, he was a great guy. It was really cheap. He didn't change anything, which was great, because all these elements of the old Colonial Theater still, you could see a ceiling fan that dated back to that period, and all these little things. So check it out. It's right past what's the taco place right on the corner? On that side of Wayne.
Hollywood Tacos?
No, the other one. The one that's down more going back towards the college, but on the other side of the street. Barbaritos. So you just walk past Barbaritos. I think you walk past the Brick. And then you'll come to the Opera House, which is where the Colonial Theater was. And it survived into the 1930s, and then they opened up the campus theater across the street, and that's where everybody started going. So anyway, it's kind of like beating a dead horse, but I know a lot of Laurel and Hardy fans think that Oliver Hardy worked there at the Colonial, but he didn't. He was gone by 1913, 14 when that opened up. So the world of Milledgeville, and what I was going to say is too that his mother it was such a Southern culture for him. I mean, his mother was a member of the Daughters of the Confederacy.
Oh wow!
he went, kind of didn't do very well, but he went to GMC. And, wore those, how they ever fit him in those uniforms, I don't know, but he'd march around, and all these, his father fought his father and his mother's, and his grandfather on his mother's side, they both fought in the Civil War.
Yeah, they were both Confederate veterans.
Yeah, so the South shaped him so very much. And when you hear him speak, when you get into the talkies, his a lot of Southern accent phrases come up. So, yeah, that's a long-winded response to how did Milledgeville shape him, but it really did.
Oh, that's no problem at all. Please, I have no problem give me as much detail as you want. Tell me as much as you want. It is no problem at all. I think I've done like one interview once with ironically another history teacher. So no, please, I'm very interested.
Great.
The second part of the same question was, I was going to then say, how much influence do you think Norvell Hardy had on Milledgeville?
Oh, not much. At the time, everybody knew him, and he loved baseball, and they always had these baseball games in town, just out a little ways. He would often umpire the games, and he was like, as a young teen, but he would be the umpire. And then sometimes he played, and one of the first references to him in print was in the Union Recorder, and he got a hit, and the newspaper article, this is 1907, 1908, something like that. But it said, it's amazing how he can carry all that ponderous flesh around the bases so quickly.
God.
Even the article was half admiring and half put down, half making fun.
Fatty can run. God,
old Fatty can run, man.
Yeah.
He got a hit and he can run. And I will tell you this, that athleticism stayed. When he went out to Hollywood, when you see his movies in the Silence in the 20s and the Talkies in the 30s, he wasn't always super fat. Occasionally he'd lose weight and he'd slim down some. But whether or not, he was a great golfer. And he was known to be, besides Douglas Fairbanks, maybe the best golfer in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
And and that was his passion. When they made their movies together, Stan Laurel was the genius behind the movies as far as putting them together and editing them. And, taking all the whoever it said was the director of their movies, the real director was Stan. But he'd stay late. Stan Laurel would stay late at night editing the movies. But Hardy was out of there as soon as the shooting was over and heading either to the racetrack, because he liked to bet on the horses, or to go golfing. And, he'd done his thing, and now he's going to have fun. And that was the way it was all the time they worked together.
Wow.
So, anyway, he that was the way he was sort of viewed in town. He also, one story, I think I tell it in the article, I'm not sure, but one of his girlfriends was the daughter of Mayor Horne, the Horne, and her name, what was her first name? Let's see. Trying to think of her first name. She was absolute character. She was this fun girl.
Sorry, I think I found it. Emmy? Emmy?
Say again?
Emmy. That doesn't sound right. Emmy. No, okay, that's not. I'm so stupid. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Mary. It was Mary Horne. And she was this cute redhead, but just kind of crazy. She wasn't like your ideal feminine Victorian, idol. She liked to laugh but anyway, she was the mayor's daughter. And there's a story that he could play the ukulele. Oliver Hardy could. And that he was serenading her out on the porch. She was standing out on the porch of her father's house. And the mayor's house is no longer there. But it stood where the fried chicken place is. You know where the Catholic Church is in Milledgeville? Right on Jefferson?
Yeah, I do.
Sacred Heart. And then right past across the street, there's used to be what was it called? Anyway, you go in there and you just get this really delicious but very greasy fried chicken. And right where that is, you can get gas in front too. Was where Mayor Horn's house was. So Oliver Hardy stood outside and serenaded her until the mayor came out and chased him away. Because the reputation of the Hardys was, of that family was, everybody, they were talented. He had a brother, Bardy, B-A-R-D-Y was his nickname, who organized a singing quartet. And so people in Milledgeville enjoyed them, but they were kind of transients in a way. They were, they're not really one of us. The old Milledgeville had its criteria. Yeah. So they ran the hotel, and and yet they get invited to parties of young people, and he was popular. He was popular with girls, despite his weight. They liked him, and and he had lots of girlfriends, but Mary Horn was the one that was the most active. In fact, Althea Miller in that clip from This Is Your Life talks about Mary Horn, and he must have been there, but I don't know if you've ever seen the statue or well, it's basically a column with the Confederate soldier on it, right outside. You were at the Mary Vincent Library, so there's this median strip, and there's this statue that was put up in 1910, as so many southern towns had, of Confederate soldiers.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Well, she unveiled the statue and her anyway, that was Mary Horn, and she's buried in Memory Hill Cemetery, actually, as so many people are. Of course, Oliver Hardy is buried out in Hollywood, but and his mother is buried in Atlanta, in the West Atlanta, big huge cemetery in West Atlanta, Mammoth Cemetery. There's two big famous cemeteries. Where are you from, Dave? Greg?
I am from, I moved around a little bit when I was younger, but where I basically grew up was Roswell, Georgia. That's where I was third grade, and I've lived there ever since. So just Roswell, Georgia. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. There's two huge cemeteries. One is Oakland Cemetery, and then the other is in the west part of Atlanta. And you go into that cemetery, in the back, there's this mausoleum that looks like a medieval building. And she's buried in that, his mother's buried in that mausoleum. She died in Atlanta. And one other thing too, when she took over managing the Baldwin, or with the Milledgeville Hotel, it wasn't called the Baldwin yet, when she took over management, about 1904, I think it was, she got married. She married her husband, Oliver Hardy's father, had died some years before. That's why she became, he was a hotel manager and she took that over. Yeah. But now she married this guy named Jackson. So when you see her in local records at the time, she'd be referred to as Mrs. Jackson, Emmy Hardy Jackson. And I don't know, I'm not quite sure whatever. I'm not sure. Jackson didn't live very much longer. He was some sort of traveling salesman. Yeah. But anyway, it was, I guess, Oliver Hardy's stepfather. So you'll see her name as in local records, depending where you're looking, as Emmy Jackson. And she kept that Jackson name until he became famous in the movies. And then she dropped it and she started calling herself Emmy Hardy again because her son was the Oliver Hardy. So,
I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. She had a lot of her husbands died, like, very quick into their marriage.
Yeah, they did. It got embarrassing because you're right. She was married, I'd forgotten this, to a guy named Sam Tant, Tante.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's just who they lived out in Grovetown, Georgia, and he died young. In fact, she had, I'm trying to think of, is it 4 kids, including Hardy.
Yeah.
2 girls and Sam and a boy. No, 5. 2 girls, 2 boys, and then Oliver Hardy. They were all his step brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
The Tant kids, Barty Tant, and that was from that first husband. So yeah, it got to be a little suspicious after a while. 3 of them died. I think it was just circumstantial.
Oh my God, you're right. I didn't even think of that. Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. Because I don't remember what they called them, but yeah, like women. There's been women in history. One infamous one, I think, who would get married, their husbands would die within like a year or so of their marriage, and then they get married again, and it would just keep happening. Yeah. Oh my God.
They sometimes called them black widows.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God. I did not even.
But yeah, she had 3 of them, and Tant and Hardy and Jackson. But the 4 older siblings, half siblings, they all loved little Norval. They thought he was great, and so there wasn't any. He was, fully a part of their family. Obviously.
Oh yeah, he was. I read some of that. He was like he was. I don't know if the favorite would be the right word, but he was definitely noted on by his older siblings. He still had to do hard work. His mother still worked him hard, but
exactly.
He was the favorite.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. That's a lot of great information.
We hope you enjoyed learning more about the people and historical events connected to Milledgeville and Flannery O'Connor in this episode. If you or someone you know has stories to share related to either of these topics, we'd love to hear them. In addition to documenting community memories, you'll also help us preserve your story for future generations. Visit our website, collectingthepastmilledgeville.wordpress.com, to learn more.